What if everything you've been fighting through the sleepless nights, the closed doors, the moments you almost quit, wasn't breaking you? What if it was building you? There is something we all do when life gets hard. We look at the struggle and call it a sign. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe I started too late. Maybe I'm just not strong enough. But what if the struggle isn't a sign to stop? What if it's proof that something real is growing? Today's story is about a seed. Not a person, not a hero, not a king. A seed, buried in darkness, pressed down by weight, and what it teaches us about the hardest seasons of our own lives. Stay with me until the end, because wherever you are right now, if you are tired, if you feel stuck, if you have started to doubt yourself, this story is for you. In a small village at the edge of a wide valley, there lived an old gardener named Elias. He had spent 60 years working the earth. His hands were rough, his back was bent, but his eyes were still full of wonder. Every spring, Elias planted seeds. Every autumn, he harvested what grew. And in all his 60 years, he had never once lost faith. But one spring, everything changed. His granddaughter came to visit, a young woman named Mara. Mara was brilliant, ambitious, full of fire, but she arrived at her grandfather's door with hollow eyes and heavy shoulders. She had been working toward a dream for 3 years, building something of her own, pouring everything she had into it. And it had not worked. Not yet. Not even close. She sat at his table and said, "Maybe I'm just not meant for this, grandfather. I've tried everything. I've given everything. And I have nothing to show for it. Maybe some people are just not built to succeed." Elias looked at her for a long moment. He didn't rush to comfort her. He simply stood up and said, "Come outside with me!" In the garden, Elias knelt beside a small patch of dark soil. He pointed to it. "I planted a seed here 4 weeks ago." Mara looked at the patch. Bare earth. Nothing visible. Nothing growing. "I don't see anything," she said. "I know," said Elias. "Neither does anyone else." He picked up a handful of soil and held it gently in his palm. "But something is happening here, Mara. Something that cannot be seen yet. Something that doesn't care whether you believe in it or not." She frowned. "How do you know? Maybe nothing is growing. Maybe the seed died." Elias smiled. "Let me tell you what a seed actually goes through before it ever becomes something the world can see." He sat down beside her. "When a seed is planted," he began, "it is placed in total darkness. It cannot see the sun. It only feels the weight of the earth pressing down on it from every side. And then the process begins. The seed's outer shell begins to crack. Not because something is destroying it, because something inside it is growing too large. That cracking, that breaking open, is not failure. That is the beginning of everything." Mara was quiet. "But it still can't see," said Elias. "It is still underground, still in the dark. And from the outside, nothing looks different. The soil looks just the same. Anyone walking past would say nothing is happening, because what they cannot see is this. Beneath the surface, tiny roots are reaching downward, anchoring, gripping, building a foundation strong enough to hold whatever comes next. Before anything grows upward, everything first grows down. Then, one morning, a tiny shoot appears. Pale, fragile. It pushes through the soil and meets the light for the very first time, and everyone says, "Oh look, something is growing." But Mara the Gruen didn't start that morning. It started in the dark. Mara stared at the bare patch of earth. 3 years, she said quietly. Buried, pressed down, cracked open. Yes, said Elias gently. Then how do I know I'm not just dying down there? Because dying feels like nothing, my dear. What you described. The effort, the pain, the resistance. That is not nothing. That is everything. The seed that dies in the ground feels no pressure. It simply decays in silence. But the seed that is growing, it fights that weight. Your struggle is not proof that you are failing. Your struggle is proof that you are alive and still growing. But what if it takes too long? She whispered. What if I run out of strength before I reach the surface? A seed does not decide how long the journey takes. It only decides whether to keep growing. Your only job is to keep reaching. He showed her 3 things, side by side. This, he said, pointing to a foot-tall plant, is a radish. It broke the surface in 6 days. And here, I planted an oak seed 2 months ago. You see nothing? Most people would have given up and dug it out by now. But the oak is not slow. The oak is building something the radish will never have. The radish lives for 1 season. This oak will stand for 300 years. Not everything that grows slowly is failing. Mara returned home that evening changed. Permission to still be underground. Permission to trust what was happening even when she couldn't see it. She went back to her work, not with desperation, but with the steady, quiet faith of a seed. She focused on the roots. Months passed, then slowly, unmistakably things began to shift. One small sign, then another, then another. And one morning, Mara stood in the light of something she had actually built and felt it. The deep satisfaction of a tree. She visited Elias that spring. She found him in his garden, kneeling beside the same bare patch at the far end. She looked closer. There it was, barely visible against the dark soil, a single pale green shoot. The oak Mara knelt beside him, and she understood, finally, what he had been trying to show her. The struggle was never the obstacle. The breaking is the beginning. When your life feels like it's cracking open, that is not destruction. That is the process. What you are building in the dark, the discipline, the resilience, is more important than anything the world can see. You cannot judge your timeline by someone else's seed. Someone else breaking the surface ahead of you is not evidence that you are behind. Think about where you are right now. Maybe you're in the dark. Maybe you've been underground for longer than you expected. I want to ask you one question. Are you still reaching? If you still feel the weight, you are still in the process. Here at Heart Connect Mind, we believe this. Your struggle is not a detour from your purpose. It is your purpose in progress. So wherever you are today, keep reaching, keep growing. Trust the dark, because one morning you will break the surface. If this story reached you, share it. Like, subscribe to Heart Connect Mind, and comment below. Where are you in your journey?